Welcome to From Cover to Code, the Technology Book Club. Join us as we discuss artificial intelligence, DevOps, software development, cloud computing, and more. With your hosts, Angela Andrews and Michael Jenkins. The next episode of From Cover to Code starts now.
And we are back in the building. How are you doing today, Angela?
I'm doing amazing, Michael. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I am excited, number one, to get through this material because prompt engineering is just like, it's really cool. I think the things that you can do with it. But then immediately after we wrap here in this discussion, I'm on a plane out of the States. I'm going to Ghana in the African continent, the city of Accra, to spend some time there, just hanging out, chilling, taking some time off, relaxing. So I'm really hyped about that.
That is fantastic. Well, because you're in what? You're this, Black History Month is over.
Yeah.
But we're Black 365, and you're gonna go back to the motherland on, what's this month called? Melanated March.
Melanin March. Yeah.
So we're still celebrating, which is amazing.
Yes.
You're gonna have a great time. I'm claiming it for you. I'm claiming it.
I can't wait. The hardest part I'm having is like packing the kitchen sink, because I'm a light traveler. I pack minimally every time I travel, and anywhere in the States, I know that I can pick up what I need, or I've got family or friends or whatever. But I'm going, even when I go to Europe, I'm able to pack lightly. This is my first time going to Africa, and I'm having that, well, I need this. Should I bring this? Oh, I got to have that. I'm having that sort of packing FOMO. So yeah, I'm struggling with it, but I think I'll make it.
You'll be okay.
Otherwise, I'm going to be paying these baggage fees too.
Yeah, we don't want that for you. We don't want that for you. So you can curate as much as you can.
Yeah, I'm definitely doing that. We're sharing bags, just making sure that everything is cool that way. So
awesome. Well, safe travels. We'll miss you next week.
Yeah, no doubt.
It'll be study time for me.
Yes.
While you're gone, that 1 week will give me the opportunity to really pick this up and start doing the practice exams, because my exam is soon. I had it written down somewhere, and now I don't know where it is.
I will tell you exactly when it is, because you shared it with me, and I think that's something we wanted to share with the folks that are following us.
Where is it?
Some other things. Your exam is scheduled for Saturday, March 28th. My exam is scheduled for Monday, March 30th.
Okay.
For some reason, I couldn't find a course on the weekend on that Saturday, which, you registered for your course first. I was trying to mirror your day, but I was like, let me get as close as I can. Couldn't get anything for Friday, so I was already into the next week. So I was able to get a course for Monday morning. So I'll be behind you by a couple days.
That's okay. We're doing this together. That was the whole point. This was I think I told you the story about me and this girl studying for an exam about 6 years ago, except she was in Spain and I was in the United States.
No, I hadn't heard about this one.
Oh my goodness. Can I give you a quick aside?
Yes,
this is why I love studying with other people, because it keeps you accountable. I don't know how many times I have tried to pick up and study and prepare for the AI practitioner. At least three. And I just go, I got other work catches up, life catches up, all these things catch up. And the fact that we have this great book club, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do it. So we have this accountability, and I like that. So I wanted to take the AWS Solution Architect years ago. It was my first time taking it. And I just went out to Twitter and was like, yo, is anybody trying to take this exam? Like, I'm trying to study with somebody, right? I just want this accountability. And this girl, by way of Milwaukee, she's over in Spain. And we start studying together, like 6 weeks. We going through the content. We meeting twice a week on different time zones. And she had to travel because I can't remember what city she was in, but it didn't have an exam center. And this was before the remote exams. That's how long it was. So she found a city. She stayed in a hotel or whatever. We passed on the same day.
That's awesome.
So that is my good luck totem. Like, one, studying with other people. It really keeps you accountable. It allows you to have those conversations and bounce things off of people. So I had to jump on this, and I'm glad we're reading this book. If we read any other book that's cert related, your girl is on it. Because
cool. I will definitely keep that in mind for sure.
So, lightning striking a few more times. One more time.
Yeah. Well, and I'm pretty sure you got some certs lined up too, right?
I do.
After this one.
Yes, the solution architect professional.
There you go. Yeah,
and my
that's
study
the
group
big
is
one right there. Okay, cool. I'll see if I'll be lagging behind, but I'll see if I can catch up with you on that one.
Not till June. So
till June. Okay, that gives me some time. After this one, maybe I'll pick that one up. So yeah, if you're following along or rocking with us, then you too can schedule your exam around that same time. In the March is the time frame that we're looking for.
Yes.
And we'll all do this together. We had one comment from somebody that's joining us live.
Hey, Rodney.
Mr. Rodney Ladson. Foundation model customization, and retrieval augmented generation was informative at the AWS Skills Center.
Is that Skill Build? Skill Builder?
Yeah, it might be. The AWS learning service. Yeah, they got some good stuff on there for sure.
I agree.
And you're also you're taking a course as well. This like supplemental material, correct?
Yes. I actually took a course through WebAge a few weeks ago for the professional. And now I am following through a course on Udemy from Neil Davis. That's what the study group is using. I usually use Stephen Merrick, but because it's a professional, he cut out all labs. He was like, you should know this stuff. But if you think about it, if you know anything about the professional, it deals more with organizations. It deals more with the whole of the it's the whole, right? And so when you're not talking about the whole, and this is your first experience creating multiple accounts, I needed something with a lab so I can do these things for the first time. And and I thought it was a good idea for the rest of us too. And everybody is enjoying the fact that there are labs and you can follow along and actually do things that you didn't get to do in the associate. So yes, I'm a busy person.
Yeah, but you're also taking a Udemy course for the AI cert as well.
Yes, that one is that one is Stephen Merrick. I'm using his course on Udemy. And his of course his chapters don't really link up. Some of the titles do, but they tend to flip-flop, go back and forth, which is fine because either you're being reintroduced to something that you may have covered, or you're hearing something for the first time, and it'll come up in the book soon enough. So it's pretty good.
Cool. Yeah, I'm taking a course off of LinkedIn Learning for the AI Practitioner cert, and it's pretty closely aligned to the outline that Amazon provides. Kind of like the book. The book kind of follows the outline. The course that I'm taking, and I've drawn a blank on the title right off the top of my head, but it follows everything pretty closely.
Good.
With direction, covering the topics, and lots of basically terminology that you have to remember and recall. And we'll get to some of that in this discussion as well. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking of making, like flashcards, just so I can keep up with some of the terminology as I start to prep for the exam.
A must. I think that's a must.
Yeah. Cool. Well, and then Rodney came back and said that was a in-person class that he took past Monday, and Amazon does a class every Monday for virtual learners. It's a hybrid class, so that's cool to know.
Oh yeah, you might have to drop the link because someone might be interested.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, share that.
Very true.
If you don't mind.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this discussion. We are in chapter 7 and chapter 8, prompt engineering and responsible AI on AWS, starting with chapter 7, a guide to prompt engineering. And I mean, I know we're not finished with this book yet, and we learned a lot in the first couple chapters, but this is probably one of my favorite chapters out of the entire book. I love the way he broke it down, everything that he presented. And I think I was able to reflect on ways that I've already used some of the topics that he introduced. So I got notes for this one.
I'm freestyling.
Okay. No doubt. Well, he did say, and we said we were going to call this out, that what's important to know for the exam, if you're studying for this exam, you need to know prompt engineering and the components of a well-designed prompt. And I will read from the book directly. He says, understanding prompt engineering is essential for the exam, as questions will test your ability to recognize how instructions, context, input data, and output impact the performance of a foundation model. You'll also be expected to know prompted techniques like few shot, zero shot, chain of thought, and in different scenarios. And then you also need to know about security risks like prompt injection, model poisoning, and jailbreaking, because they'll use questions and scenarios to assess your knowledge of safe and responsible AI use. So you got to know it.
Yes. So this is the all the marbles chapter. It's the one that is most approachable because we can all immediately learn something from it, see how we're doing in our own prompt engineering, and how we can pick up some tips to become better prompt engineers. So I learned a lot. I've found ways that I can improve this. I think the prompt template, he doesn't call it a template, he calls the template happens later in the chapter, but having instruction, your content, your input, and your output, being very specific how you want this information returned is so clutch. And I've been like trying to force my brain around the way that I've usually been prompting to get it to do more of what I want it to do without additional prompts to kind of guide it along. So I love this chapter. This was the best one yet so far.
And that's a perfect segue into something that I wanted to share, a graphic, a visual for the folks that are joining us live on LinkedIn, YouTube, or wherever else you might be watching this video. And we'll go through it for the folks of you that are joining us in an audio only format. Yes. So basically the author started off with this description of the anatomy of a prompt. And I mentioned them in the things that he said are essential to know when it comes to prompt. But the first one is the instruction. And that's what you want the model to do. You got to tell it to do something. And I've had that problem where I start a prompt and maybe I press the enter key too soon, or I just start the conversation like, hey, how you doing? And, and I hit return or something like that. And the model's like, I'm fine, but what would you like for me to do? It's like,
you wasting
I'm wasting tokens.
Like you wasting tokens. Don't do that. But wait, have you heard don't be polite? What's wrong with you wasting with all these filler words? Have you heard that?
I have heard that. Now I've got thoughts on it. On the one hand, yes, you're going to burn tokens being nice, saying please, thank you, and responding or saying, yeah, that worked. And the model's like, oh, I'm so glad that it worked. come back to me if you need any help with anything else. So yeah, you burn maybe, 50, 60, 70 tokens right there. Yep. But the flip side of that is when the AI takes over the world, they're going to remember that I was nice to them.
Yes. They'll spare you.
They're going to be like, they're like, hey, this is the guy that said please and thank you every time he submitted a prompt. So anyway, that's why I continue to burn tokens on saying please and thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. The next component of the anatomy of a prompt is the context. And that's background information to help the model understand what you want it to do. So you can say, give it some instruction, but you need to give it more information. Otherwise, it may assume, it may guess at something,
your
or
audience,
it may not.
Right. That's a good one. Where you're who is this information for?
Yes.
How do you want it framed? What form, I want to say format, because there's another part for that, but you have to kind of set the ground rules for what you want this thing to do. I mean, do you have an example? I know the book has an example.
Yeah. So, I mean, the best context you could give it is like the introduction to the problem that you're trying to solve, and then the result that you're hoping for. Like, hey, and I actually had an example for something else, talking about going to Africa. And I'll save that for chain of thought prompting.
Okay.
But I gave it the context, like, hey, I'm going to Africa and I need your assistance with this problem. Here's what I want you to help me solve. So that's the context is, I'm going to Africa and I need help with the problem. And I'll put a pin in that. I promise we'll get to it when we talk about chain of thought. But yeah, the more information you give it, the less it'll assume, the less it'll have to ask. So you'll get your response faster and more specific to your need, to the problem that you're trying to solve.
Okay.
Yeah, the next part is the input data, which is the specific data you want the model to process to generate the response. And I mean, when we talk about the instruction, and I'll jump ahead a little bit here, because with instructions, you might want to tell it to summarize, translate, explain. You might want to code something, analyze something, compare something, or just help with brainstorming. But then you give it some more information to know what you need to summarize. Like a lot of times what I'll do after we're recording a show, I'll give an AI our transcript and say, summarize this episode, and then I'll get a high level summary of our discussion, and I can use that for show notes or just references or whatever the case is. So that's the input data, would be the transcript from this recording.
Nice.
But yeah, it can be whatever else.
So the prompt is the most important thing. The output is important, like what you want the Gen AI to return to you, but framing your prompt in such a way that you're building the framework for the response that you're hoping Gen AI provides without a lot of reprompting. I don't know if that's a word, but we've all done it where we kind of go back in and it's like, okay, this but I really want you to kind of focus on this or whatever. So yeah, the anatomy of a prompt. Anything else you wanted to say more on this before we dig into?
To the best practices prompt. Well, the last thing I'll say, like the output indicator, that's the last part.
Yes, we did.
And that's the output type or format. Yeah, and so basically he's saying give it specific instructions for the way that you want the response to be formatted. And you can say, give me CSV, give me Markdown, give me HTML. A lot of times I'll say, make the result something that I can copy into something else. If I'm copying from like a prompt into another document, you could tell it, hey, give me bullet points, numbered lists, paragraphs, outlines. Or you could say, use a Q&A format where it poses the question and then gives you the answer. You could say, hey, needs to be an executive summary, so it'll follow those formats, or some type of report format. So yeah, if you tell the model how you want to see its response, it'll follow that instruction. It'll say, okay, you want this in HTML? Boom, here's your HTML.
Okay. I'm sorry I keep laughing over here because I'm laughing.
Yeah, we got a couple of folks in the building that are commenting. Tech Coach Ralph comment, he joined us. He's saying, do unto others, including AI, as you want them to do unto you. This is like saying please and thank you to the AI.
Yes,
I'm sure.
we were just
and
mentioning.
Then Herman comes in. He says, yeah, I'm just over here wasting energy.
Yes.
And here we go. Is one thing.
Trying to get in the good word. So
Yeah.
So it's funny because there are consequences to all of what we're doing with generative
Yeah.
AI, and you're going to hear about it more and more. Us as technologists, we use this tool one because our companies are shoving it down our throats.
Very much so. Yeah.
I had a whole meeting on Gen AI today. Like it's the topic of everybody's conversation. But there is another side to it, the impact that it's having
Mhm.
in the communities, on resources, on finite resources. That is not in the book, but I
Mhm.
understand when with his comments saying wasting energy. You have to be more prescriptive and understand that there is a price that we're paying when
Yeah.
when we're using this tool. So it ain't free, and I'm not even talking
Yeah.
about the $20 a month. It does have a cost.
Yeah. Yeah. It does have an impact for sure. Which I think you can also be better when you think about that cost, wasting tokens, being efficient, whatever. In this next section, where the author talks about the best practices of prompting, and the
Mhm.
first one, I love the first one, and it's very, very simple. Be clear. Just like, hey, don't mess around. Just like, hey, just come out and be clear with
Mhm.
what you want the
On
AI to
him
do.
or her.
Yes, and so the example he gave was create a report. Now, if you tell a very eager to respond model, give me a report, there's no clue what kind of report you're going to get back. It's going to give you a report, but it's probably not the report that you want. But if you say, and this is an example from the book, generate a monthly sales report for Q3 that includes revenue, profit margin, and top
Mm,
performing products for each sales region, including a summary of key insights, and then maybe you give it the sales data, then you're going to get that report.
yeah,
It's because it has everything that it needs to follow that instruction.
it could be a
So yeah,
book report. I mean,
yeah, right.
it could be just about anything.
A court report.
Be clear.
Just be
Yes.
clear. Just
What does it
out of
say?
the gate.
Say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yes.
That's probably the most important thing, clarity,
Mhm.
and explaining yourself in such a way that the model can interpret. Being
Mhm.
clear. Yeah, sorry. My mind is all over the place. I keep reading these comments, which I should probably close
Oh, I'm
because
sorry. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
very
missing the
easily
comments.
distracted.
Yeah, my bad. Let's see. Techos Ralph is saying, so true. Had to razzle dazzle some people with a Claude Code skill I built for story coverage. Okay.
Okay.
Claude Code coming through. That's one of the formats. Coding, you say, hey, generate this code. When I think of all the times I left the lights on, left the water running, at least I'm being productive with my AI energy costs. That is true. Running the water, hey, that water is gone. But hey, AI, at least you got that response.
Yes.
Oh man. Okay, moving on.
Moving on. What's another
Avoid
best practice?
avoid leading questions because you can manipulate the model into confirming the assumption. So if you
Confirmation
say,
bias. Yep.
Isn't it true that I don't know, Corvettes are faster than Camaros?" Then the model is going to be like, yeah, it's true. But who's to say that that's the case under what circumstances or
Mhm.
scenarios or whatever? So
They're
you
people
gotta,
pleasers.
yes, they really want to reaffirm whatever it is you're giving to them if you don't guide them into the way that they need to be guided. So avoid leading questions.
Mhm.
Uh, Ask them to use analogies or comparisons to provide a point of reference, which makes the response more relatable. Also, ask for alternatives instead of saying, what's the best way to do something? You can say, provide 3 strategies to
Yes.
do something. So that way you got options.
I like
You're
that.
not locked into one specific thing for the AI to respond to you with. Then also, and I thought this was very efficient, I do this all the time, is to use prompt templates for
Mhm.
consistency, efficiency, and clarity. So if you nail down a prompt and you're getting very good responses from it, that's your template. You might want to save that off and then use that for the next time you encounter that same scenario because
Mm.
everything's already nicely lined up. You're going to get good responses from it. The one thing that I would say there is that as the models change, sometimes you have to tweak your prompt templates
I agree.
to work with the new models. But still, yeah, if you got a good templates, just start building that template library and saving those things off.
Okay. Only here we go.
Um,
What else?
yeah, right. Yeah, the comments are lit today, so that's all I'm going to say. I'm gonna leave it alone. Okay, the next section was prompting techniques, and he gave 3 key techniques that we need to be aware of for the exam. Zero-shot prompting, where you provide an instruction without any examples at all, and that's where you're relying on the like the general training of the model, the general knowledge of the model to respond to whatever instruction you give it. You're not giving it any sort of guidance in its response. It's just a zero shot. The next one is a few shot prompting, where you do add examples to the prompt and say, hey, this is kind of what, the type of response I respect, or I expect, the way that the output should look or whatever. So you're giving it a little bit more data to work with as you go forward. And the last one, and I got some thoughts on this one, was chain of thought prompting, where you have the model break down complex problems into steps. And the author said this is good for puzzles, multi-part decisions, coding and debugging, or evaluating conditional rules and policies.
Okay.
And let me tell you, the evaluating conditional rules and policies is exactly what I used ChatGPT for a couple days ago. Okay. So as I mentioned, traveling to Africa, I'm going to be on multiple carriers that have their own sort of baggage limits. Some carriers I've got status on, so I don't have to worry about baggage limits. I can just like bring everybody's bag and say, hey, let's go. Oh, that bag's 70 pounds. Don't worry about it. I got you. And we're good. But then the next day I'm getting on a plane and they're like, sir, you're not taking more than one bag, or you're paying us $100 for each one over that. Your bag better not be over 50 pounds or you're paying for that too. So I was like, okay, chat, check this out. Here are the baggage guidelines for each of the airlines that I'll be using for this trip. Analyze all the rules and constraints and limits and minimums, maximums, and then tell me what the minimal set, like what do I need to do to be compliant across all these things, considering also status, seat upgrades, or whatever the case is, just keep all that in mind. So it would have been like a good 3 or 4 hours for me to do this analysis. And of course, it comes back in a matter of minutes saying, hey, on this flight, you got this flight, you got this, blah, 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 blah. So you need to be at this level and you're good across the board. I'm like, okay, bet, thanks. That's like real problem solving.
That is very, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah, I thought that was a great use of AI. And of course, somebody, like I tell you, the comments are hot today. I just want to tell you, Tech Coach Ralph, I am not flying Spirit. Spirit is not even among the airlines that I'm considering for this international trip.
They should rename it to Steal Your Spirit Airline, because they know how to ruin a day. They know how to ruin a trip.
They charging you for the,
because I've never flown Spirit. Allegedly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are they charging you for the seatbelt?
Yes, in air. So bring your own air, but it has to fit in your pocket, because if it doesn't, then you can't bring it on, and you can't recline. Crazy.
Cannot you just
no, you're gonna
straight
be
up
here,
the whole trip.
Straight up. Work on your posture, holding your core. They're doing you a favor if you
or get one of those warehouse belts. Warehouse workers. Like, oh, why you got that warehouse? You got a new job? You working on? No, I'm about to fly Spirit from Fort Lauderdale up to Virginia or something. Okay, we're all over the board.
How did we digress like that? Okay. All right. Next is security.
Yes, security. So you definitely have to be aware as you're working with your prompts on keeping security first and foremost, like top of mind. A couple things that he mentioned: model poisoning, where you're injecting bias or maliciousness or hostile data into a model. That's something, and I think that's more on the side of, encountering a model that has been poisoned. You got to be careful with that. And then also, like, I guess for malicious actors or bad actors, hijacking or prompt injection, where they're prompting to lead to malicious responses from a model. So you need to be aware of that as well. And then I think also the most important thing for us as corporate workers or people who work in corporations, enterprises, and we're working with sensitive data, and that's exposure, where you're training a model on sensitive or confidential data, which could lead to responses that violate privacy regulations.
Gotcha.
And he gave some tips on that. You could use data anonymization. I'm going to pronounce these words, y'all.
You did good.
Thank you. Of course, access control, and then regular audits to make sure that everything is up to par. Also got to watch out for prompt leaking if you're working with models, because people will try to get your model to disclose internal instructions and policies that they're using to handle prompts. And he gave some pretty cool examples on that. And then also jailbreaking, which attempts to override the restrictions and ethical rules of an AI model. So people are just out here trying to get everything they can out of the models themselves, or using the models in malicious ways. So we just have to be aware as we're training models, accessing models, to be, like I said, keep security top of mind in the way that we're using them, and the data that we're giving to the models.
Exactly. As well. So that's huge, depending on the industry that you work in. If they've allowed you to use AI in your day-to-day work, you have to be very mindful of what information that you're putting in there. Again, depending on the industry you work in, some of that may be proprietary, and you cannot be putting proprietary data in public LLMs. If you have your own, which a lot of places do, where it is being trained on the internet's data and your data as well, then that might be that safe place that you can, put that information in, because it's already been trained on it. So
yes,
knowing the rules is important. When you're prompting, the format for a good prompt, you should understand the security problems that are around prompting, and of course the types of prompt: zero shot, few shot, chain of thought. Those are probably all going to be on the exam. They should be flashcards,
right?
And you wedded them into your memory. This chapter was definitely my favorite chapter in the book.
It was. And the other thing, I mean, I know this is the AWS AI Practitioner exam, but you can use these concepts across any platform, across any model, and your results will improve. So I think this just goes to being like a true AI practitioner across the board, not even on AWS. So that's another thing that I liked about this chapter. It's just like got good practical information for us as AI practitioners. So you ready for some quiz questions then?
Am I?
This one? Okay.
I am ready.
Let's get to the quiz. Y'all know what time it is.
All right.
Chapter 7 quiz. I got a couple questions from this chapter, starting with question 1.
Okay.
Which of the following is a required component of every prompt when working with a foundation model? A, context; B, input data; C, instruction; or D, output indicator. How would you start to approach this question, Angela?
Well, because we just talked about the 4 parts of a good prompt, and understanding a bad prompt or not a well-formed prompt is just telling your model to do something, right? And that's all it needs. You just need to give it marching orders. You don't have to flesh out your prompt in any way, shape, or form. So giving it context, you don't have to. It's not required. The input data, like, what are we working on? What are we trying to do here? Not necessary. The output, you don't even have to say how you want to output it. It's going to output. It's going to give you output in the way that it sees fit. So again, the bare bones minimum any prompt needs is the instruction.
Cool. I agree. And we are both correct. The answer is C,
Yay.
Instruction. And the author even said, like, it's required. You got to give the model some sort of instruction. Otherwise, it's going to sit there and make niceties with you until you give it an instruction to actually do something.
Don't go, hey, chat.
I know. How are you doing today? Yeah. Don't have conversations with your AI. You're wasting tokens. All right, next question. All right, chapter 7, question 3. What is the purpose of context in a prompt? A, to supply relevant input data. B, to provide background that improves response quality. C, to specify the output format. D, to summarize past interactions with the model. I mean, if you didn't know coming in with with no preparation for this exam, there's some good questions in here that, or some good choices in here that might provide context to a prompt. Summarizing past interactions looks good. Relevant input data, that's kind of context-y, but maybe not. I would drop output format right away, because you're trying to go into the prompt, not necessarily trying to get something out of it. And then with the last ones left, A, B, and D, I mean, I'm just gonna have to go ahead and go with B, because the context is the background. You want to tell it what you're trying to do, why you're trying to do it, the problem that you're trying to solve, and the the results that you expect. So, and that is essentially the context. So I would drop a couple and then narrow in on B. So, and you say you agree? All right.
I do. Yes, I do.
Okay. I will go to the next slide and reveal the answer is B.
Awesome.
To provide background that improves response quality. That is the context. And then Tech Coach Ralph, who's following along with us live,
loving it,
got the correct answer as well. Very well done, sir. Excellent. So that wraps up the discussion for chapter 7. So we can jump into chapter 8.
All right.
Which is a framework for responsible AI.
Yes.
I will come out and say that my reading on this one is skimmish. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and read some more, but I hit the conclusion and the summary strong.
Okay.
Yeah, because you know exactly what I mean. I skimmed the heck out of this chapter, but I'm going to go back and read it.
But we're here, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Okay, so this chapter starts off talking about a case in which a chat bot went sideways. That's how it starts. It talks about a chat. What does it say? A version of a chat bot. They put it out on Twitter, and within 24 hours, it had to be shut down because it was spouting racist and hostile comments.
Dang.
What do you expect?
Yes.
So anyway, that spurred Microsoft to understand that they have a responsibility about the content that is being returned from their AI models. And they learned a lot from it, right? Because just because it worked well in China doesn't mean this version that you have over here is going to be, it's going to report the same output. So they decided to create their own principles for responsible AI. They built a framework in which to develop and deploy AI systems. And before getting into any realm of AI, especially generative AI, when you are producing content and information, all of the other stuff that we talked about in previous episodes about, how it's trained, how we try to limit bias and toxicity and things like that. Having a framework in which to do these things is great, but it has to be living, because you're always working to improve, to make sure that no harm comes from the information that is being provided from the model. This chapter made me think about all of the cases that you're hearing in the news about people suing these AI companies because they were irresponsible and the output of said models caused harm. And in a few instances I've heard about, and one just today where someone is no longer with us behind some AI and the responses and the stuff that came back from it. So This is how things change and move through a life cycle. You have to have these, you shouldn't, but unfortunately, people are going to find a way.
Yeah.
And these types of behaviors and this type of output, now you understand how serious this is. And now you know that this stuff can cause harm. And having this framework that tries to put guardrails around what is returned from these models is very important. So I'm not going to get into all the cases. All you got to do is Google them, and they're out there. And it's a lot of harm is being done from people who are interacting and the responses from them. So don't forget that there are real people who use these tools, and they're not all in tech like us. They're not all aware of things like that, and some are very impressionable. So
yeah,
I'm off my soapbox. We're just gonna.
That's okay. I mean, yeah, a couple of comments I've had on that as far as like and I can't remember if it was in this chapter or the previous chapter where they were saying that, you know, you can put these guardrails on the AI to prevent it from releasing information that people may use in a malicious way or in a bad way. But then there's all these edge cases, and when you're talking about something that's as vast and dynamic as a large language model that's been trained on all this information, you don't know what people are going to ask you know, the AI to do, or to answers to provide, or whatever the case is. So a shout out to Stats on Stats podcast. I was listening to them a couple days ago, and one of their guests was talking about how basically the AI for cybersecurity, it's like an arms race, right? Because as the hackers are using AI to attack things, then the defenders have to also use AI to like improve their defenses. And so it's just like everybody's, you know, just kind of like stacking their chips higher and higher and higher in this race to, you know, beat or prevent from getting beat to get into the system and hack whatever they're trying to hack.
Who won't out AI the AI?
Exactly, right? You know, it's like, man, it's kind of crazy that way. And Tech Coach Ralph says he likes the soapbox that you're on, so we can break out all the ivory that you need to stand on.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
it was an inside joke.
Yeah, yeah, soap, right? I mean, yeah, Tide. Okay. I mean, you could pick the box that you want. We're gonna get it. And you can stand on it.
That would be the box right there.
Okay.
So let's talk about some of the risks. Toxicity. That's a huge one. Huge.
Yeah.
There was a woman who was working at Google many years ago, and I don't know if they fired her because she was like, "Yo, y'all need to check this, because the crap that's coming out of here, you need to again." We need to build responsible AI. And she was saying it from the rafters, like, we cannot discount the information that is coming out. We are responsible, right? So toxicity is one of them. It's one of those, and there's so many, you know, because it's subjective. Just something that I find that, oh, that's not so bad, doesn't mean someone would get the same response and wouldn't be aggrieved by this said response. So it's very subjective, but understanding your customers, understanding what type of use cases, I think that all matters. But having there's an acronym they use, but having human feedback constantly is how you tend to get away from, or at least lessen the damage of toxicity. And the next one is what? IP,
intellectual property. And this is also a battlefield.
Huge.
Where
the data getting trained?
Exactly. Yeah. What are you training this data on? I mean, you can go all the way back to people who aren't even here to defend their claims, like Renoir, or, you know, like some artist that has a style that you can recognize right away. And of course, these multimodal AI models have been trained on all this stuff. So you can say, hey, take this picture of me and put it in a Picasso format or Van Gogh format. And we talked about it, you know, a couple episodes back. I won't rehash the whole thing, but if you are protecting and licensing your property, and these companies are training their models on it, then that's kind of funky, right? And who was it? Was it Anthropic that kind of got caught because they did some stuff with some of their models, but they were like pointing the finger at another company who had trained their model on some stuff. So it's like, okay, everybody's out here doing this stuff. Y'all got to figure out some kind of way to agree on how you're going to train the models and how people are going to use those models to generate the content from them. So we just got to figure it out and agree.
I agree. So yeah, that's a big concern. Systems that fail to attribute or properly license, and taking people's their IP and using it. That'll continue. We won't be able to solve that one in this one episode. Here's one that has been around since the beginning of before AI. Plagiarism and cheating.
Yep.
And there are some, like right now, everyone is on this bandwagon of yes, we want you to use these tools because they're great learning tools. We want you to use them. We don't want you to have them writing your papers, but we do want them to maybe instruct you on the history of whatever you're producing. It can definitely be great to use, but it can also be great to steal someone else's I don't want to call it intellectual property, but someone else's words, someone else's thoughts, and then passing them off as your own. So there's like, I know teachers, I've heard about teachers who try to use tools to tell if a student has used generative AI to write a paper. And again, that's going to be harder to discern. Forget the M dash and forget the emojis, right? They're going to be a little bit harder to discern because again, what if this student is an amazing prompt engineer and knows how to, using that and as well as negative prompts, which we haven't got into yet, how to tell the model to give it what it needs without hitting all of those roadblocks that tend to be telltale signs of Gen AI.
Yeah, I pray for the parents that are raising children in this age of AI because of, not necessarily because of plagiarism. I mean, that's definitely a thing, but I don't want kids to be like, oh, I'll just let the AI do it. I don't have to learn it. The AI knows how to do it. Yeah. So you still have to learn it, child, ma'am, sir, whoever it is. But then also, and this is just anecdotal because I don't have a reference, but for, I think, again, another podcast I was listening to where the professor or instructor was like, yeah, my students can use all the AI that they want, but when they submit their work, they have to submit the entire train of thought, all the prompts, all the generated, like give me all the work that went into creating
your work,
the report. Exactly. You're showing your work. So that makes it a little bit more fair in a sense, because then you're saying, okay, this is what I got from the AI and this is what I produce based on that. And if it's cut and paste, okay, well, I mean, it's low-key plagiarism because you could be, but like, what did you learn? Like, what did you produce off of the work that you did using the AI as a tool,
Right.
So yeah. And that's so Rodney says, I am glad I no longer teach high school.
Oh yeah.
This is probably a very difficult time for high school teachers. Like I can only imagine what they're going through. I can only
imagine
with the use of AI.
Because I feel for all the educators out there now who have to weed through the nonsense to get to what a student is actually learning. So
yeah. And Tech Coach Ralph says you can also train the model off of your writing style to make the product sound like you. Yeah. So it's like, man, so if I'm training the thing to write like me and it's writing like me, is it me? Or is it?
It's me-ish.
Yeah, yes, it's something like that. So yeah, but okay, let's move on this because we could stay here for a minute.
What's next?
Next one was disruption of the nature of work. And again, this is me just skimming through. But it's saying that using AI could cause economic and social disruptions.
Apparently, that's already happening. If you read LinkedIn and all of the, tech news,
we're seeing it with. We're seeing it with jobs, right?
Yeah.
Or companies claiming that's why they're letting people go.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could do a whole nother episode on that. So I'll keep some
We're
of
gonna
my
let that one go.
tucked in.
I will say the economist John Maynard Keynes wrote a paper about, this is 1930. All right.
Wow.
How technology would displace a huge number of jobs. He called it the technological unemployment. It has a whole word and a paper.
Yeah.
So
And I'm curious. I would be interested in reading that, and I'm sure some economist has done this as well. But can you imagine what that curve looks like if he started this sort of research in 1930 and says how many people were laid off because of a technological advancement or change?
mhm.
And if you think about the technologies that were advancing in the 1930s, I mean, we already had automation and mass production and stuff like that. But then you get into like jet transportation, changes in communication with radio, television, stuff like that. Maybe you're creating jobs, but you're eliminating other jobs. But now here we are in AI, or even let me go back to the 70s, 80s, rise of computers, rise of the internet for that type of communication, sales. And then here we are in AI. I wonder, is there like a spike that happens circa 2020, 21 when ChatGPT and chat-based AI came out? Is there a spike in the curve of technological unemployment? I think that would be a very, very interesting economic analysis. Yeah.
I'm sure if it's not, there's someone out here who's doing the research to expose what you're just saying. Nothing stays. If you can think it, someone else is already working on it. That's how things move. And there was a report. It was forecasted that by 2030, up to 30% of hours currently worked in the US and Europe could be automated. And there's a link to an article for that from the McKinsey Global Institute. So it is, people are doing this research to see to the disruption of the disruption of the nature of work and what technology, specifically AI, what role it's going to play. So yeah, that's it is a disruptor in more ways.
It's a disruptor. Yeah. Let's see. Next up is accuracy. At the core of responsible AI is the accuracy of the results of a model, which is essential for reliability, safety, and trustworthiness. I think about this a lot when I think about, the self-driving cars, for example, when we're giving complete autonomy to something that is not able to make human calculations or decisions or that type of thing. So it's like, you want the AI that's driving your car to be accurate. You want it to be
you do.
Very, very deterministic. You don't want it to guess, like, should I run this light? Can I make this light? This car might be coming through there, but they look like they're about to stop. Can I make it? Now, humans, they try to make those decisions as well. And God bless them if they fail, to make the decision. But I really, really, really want the AI to be 100% sure, like, no, I'm going to stop to keep my passengers and everybody around me safe. That's just one example.
Yes. So the accuracy matters. What else in here? They said something about, it did these two terms from chapter 3, where it talks about bias and variance. Those two things are pretty important because high bias, they were talking about the underfitting and overfitting. And we talked about that a few weeks ago, but that has a lot to do with the accuracy of the model as well. There's a balance to be found between the two to make sure that what you are returning, you want it to be more deterministic, but then of course they have ways to make it more creative, where you're changing these
the temperature,
like temperature, top K and top
P.
Instead of using like the first 10% of the word, 10 words, you can like make it more wordy, make it more creative. But in that, there is a bunch of techniques to help with the accuracy, and there's a bunch of terms in here. I hope they're not on the exam because, after you read them, they kind of all sound the same. But
Yeah.
there are ways in which data scientists are trying to make sure that they are responsible and they're making sure that the data that they're returning is accurate. And that's all wrapped up in responsible AI. So let's move on to what are the elements
of responsible AI.
Yeah.
I will blast through these because, like I said, I'm
Yes.
skimmish. Fairness, so that the AI makes impartial decisions. Explainability, so that the AI is developed to make the decision-making process transparent and understandable. And I thought that was kind of cool to be like, okay, AI, explain to me how you came to this result, and I guess you could say, well, or it could say, hey, I referenced this, or I know this theorem, or whatever the case is. So that's kind of cool. Privacy and security. I mean, we kind of talked about in the previous one and kind of all through this particular discussion, keeping security top of mind, and also with privacy of confidential data, particularly like for companies, if they're using AI to work on whatever application they're developing or whatever product they're producing, you want to keep that private. You want to keep that within your company walls there. I thought this was interesting, the transparency versus explainability. Transparency is sharing information about how the AI systems were developed, the data they use, and their decision-making process. So transparency and explainability, they kind of go together, but they're a little bit different. And I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Yes.
Veracity and robustness help to ensure that AI systems operate reliably and accurately. So, and they're saying this is the case where they might get unexpected inputs or challenging environments. And that could also go back to like self-driving car. I know that self-driving cars is not going to be on the exam, y'all. So don't, don't put too much weight on what I'm saying here. But I'm just saying in the application of AI, you want it to be able to make decisions in scenarios that it has never been trained on, never been encountered, based on what it has been trained on, to say like, okay, I'm coming to this thing. It kind of looks like a railroad track, but I'm not sure, should I stop? No, yeah, probably, you should stop, that type of thing. What else we got here? Governance and safety. And I'm going super fast here.
That's okay. There was a lot to cover.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, y'all go back and read this chapter with me, because next week I'm going back and covering this one. Controllability is the capacity to guide and regulate AI systems so that their actions remain aligned with human intentions and ethical standards. So that one kind of stood out to me as well. And then he goes into the benefits of responsible AI, and more things there. And I mean, I can run through them really quickly.
Yes.
Building trust, and enhancing brand image, staying ahead of regulation. So, being ethical out of the gate and responsible out of the gate before somebody makes a rule that says, hey, you have to be ethical and responsible.
Right.
Reducing your risk of exposure, standing out in the market. I mean, you can definitely stand out and say, hey, we are using AI, but this is how we're aligning ourselves to be responsible and ethical with it. And then he mentioned smarter outcomes with fairness and transparency being core to your design principles. And then driving innovation, responsible AI, bringing more perspectives into the conversation. So yeah, just using diversity to be more innovative in your use of AI. So.
Indeed. So
lots of good stuff there.
Because this is AWS, this is an AWS exam. It starts talking about the Amazon tools for responsible AI. And of course, I'm sure they will be on the exam because this is an AWS exam. Yes. So it starts off, and we're not going to go through them, but it starts off with Bedrock, right? It has settings and guardrails that were covered in chapter 6. You can restrict interactions by filtering content, redacting PII, and implementing content safety and privacy policies, meaning, you don't have to use, you can use natural language, but you want to make sure that there's the content that's being returned isn't doing any harm. So they're putting up those guardrails using Amazon Bedrock. And then, of course, SageMaker. Clarify is a tool, and it has a bunch of governance tools, Role Maker, model cards, provides the documentation of essential model information, the model dashboard where you can monitor the model's performance for a myriad of metrics like quality, accuracy, and bias over time. And there's another one called Amazon Augmented AI. And it's really key in responsible AI with the human oversight that AI does require. And it supports, you can use it with SageMaker, you can use it with TextTrack, recognition, comprehend, transcribe. So it is a responsible AI tool that's built in into SageMaker. And let's see, we're going to go a little bit faster. There's the model monitor. We talked a little bit about that, where you're watching for drift, the quality of data drifting, the model quality drifting, the bias being undetected or detected. You need that. So that's another tool, SageMaker model monitor. And there's other considerations with it gets to the environmental aspects of said AI, which is something that I think we all have to take seriously. I know we're kind of flippant and joking about it, but it is something that us as citizens of this globe, where there is only one, we do have to take stuff like this very seriously and figure out how AI can be a part of it without taking more away than it is providing. So yeah. What next?
Well, the one thing I would say about model monitoring, I'm glad that they have that service and it's fully managed. I can't even think about how I would monitor a model in production to check for data quality drift. Because when I think about monitoring, I'm like, is it on or is it off? Is it 50%? Is it 100%? Like, I need numbers. I need distinct values. I like, how do you even determine if the data quality has drifted?
It can only be automated. It can't be.
Yeah, it has to be. And like on some other model that knows how to check for that. So that was really interesting to me. I plan to read up on that a little bit more just to see how that even works. It talked about data preparation, creating responsible AI systems require the thoughtful preparation of data sets to ensure fairness and accuracy. And you mentioned the Google researcher that they let go some time ago because she raised comments on the way that Google was using AI. And I put a link in, it was Timnit Gebru, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So yeah, if like you have to be fair about how you're even training the AI models that you're deploying. If you train bias into your model, train unfairness into your model, then you're going to have bias and unfairness coming out the other side. So you definitely have to be aware and responsible for that as well. More dialogue or more words here, more vocabulary. Interpretability versus explainability, where interpretability is generally favored when transparency and accountability are paramount, but explainability is essential when using complex models that can't easily be interpreted, but you still need human oversight. So you got to keep the humans in the loop so that you know what the models are doing, and working with the tools to monitor them, to make sure they're doing the right thing. He went on to talk about human-centered design, lots of vocabulary there with clarity, simplicity, usability, reflexivity, accountability, personalization, cognitive apprenticeship, and user-centered tools. I'm going to leave it to the listener or the viewer to go back and review all of those things, because that's like a whole nother conversation right there. And I don't know if this is the last thing that he mentioned, RLHF, and I'm drawing a blank on what that even stands for.
It was reinforcement
covered in
learning,
chapter 4.
Right. R, reinforcement learning from human feedback.
Got it. Okay. See, I got to get my flashcards together. Oh man, got to remember that one. Okay. Advantages of RLHF: enhanced model performance, handling complex scenarios, improve user satisfaction. And another Amazon tool, Amazon SageMaker Ground Truth, provides capabilities to incorporate RLHF into the machine learning lifecycle.
Yep.
So that's another thing that might pop up there in the exam.
So I think the exam will be understanding the AWS tools and where they are in the AI lifecycle. What part of the lifecycle do they fit in? I think that'll be part of it as well, and kind of tying it all together. So yeah, that we'll have to definitely put a pin in ground truth. I like the name. It's like standing on business. Like it's ground truth.
Right. Yeah. And then Rodney says there was a lot of coverage of SageMaker AI Studio on Monday during the RAG discussion.
I'm sure. I am sure that's going to be huge. Yeah. I think they said something about in a previous chapter, there was a section where it talked about the AI Studio, and another part of they were the two. I can't remember, but they said, but this is the one that's going to be featured heavily on the exam, or this is the one that we'll be using in the book. I can't remember, but they earlier in the book, it made mention of that tool that you were using. So I'm sure we have to be aware of it.
Yeah, we'll make sure we got that for the review session before we go into the exam. Okay, and with that said, let's wrap up chapter 8 with a quiz.
Okay.
Now I might be copying off of your paper for this one.
No, you won't.
So you're gonna have your elbow up. Like you need to check your own paper.
We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out together.
Okay, chapter 8, question 1.
Yes.
Which of the following methods can help reduce overfitting in an AI model? A, increasing the complexity of the model. B, adding more noisy data. C, stopping training early. Or D, avoiding hyperparameters. So this one, you really got to know your vocabulary on these. You got to know what the complexity is, the noisy data, what training is, how much to train, how long to train, and then
you have to know what overfitting is.
Yes.
That's
to
the
begin with,
you
got to know what overfitting is.
So let's, because I don't know I didn't do this quiz.
Okay.
So
all right. Well, let me
eliminate.
Yes. Let's eliminate as many as we can.
Increasing the complexity. No. Why?
Yeah.
I don't think. No. I don't think
want to make it more complex.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good answer. Avoiding hyperparameters. I'm not sure what is considered a hyperparameter.
Well, hyperparameters were like the that's for fine tuning. Okay. When you have a model that's trained and you tweak your parameters for a specific use case.
Okay.
So you wouldn't want to avoid them completely to prevent overfitting. You need them at some point.
Okay.
So you wouldn't want to avoid them. So
we're going to cross out D.
Yeah, I would cross out D, which leaves us with B and C.
Okay.
Noisy data. I'm like, do you want data that's noisy? Do you want more? I suppose you want some data that's. Well, when I think about overfitting, it's like you're trying to prevent it from sticking to the correct answer or sticking to the wrong answer. And noisy data is just like, I'm just going to read that as bad data, like data that doesn't make sense. So I'm going to remove that one because I don't think that's going to help. And I'm going to go in with the age-old guess for a quiz question, which is C, stopping training early. Because and I mean, I know from experience working with machine learning, if you continue to train a model just like over and over and over and over and over and over again, then it indeed will overfit to the answers or to the data that you're giving it, to the labeled data. So I'm going to say C.
We're going to go with C. Okay, let's see if we're heading in the right direction.
C, and the answer is C, stopping training early.
All right.
So that would have been a guess for me.
That's a guess for me too.
Not having read this material, but let's.
You read some of it.
I did. Like I said, I skimmed with the best of them. I'm not even gonna deny it. Okay, chapter 8, question 5. Ability compared to transparency, and we did talk about this just a couple minutes ago. Let's see if I can even remember what we said. A, explainability focuses on user interface design. B, explainability explains model decisions. Transparency shares system details. C, they mean the same thing. Or D, transparency is only required in open source models.
Ooh, okay. So A is not a good answer. And B and C is not a good answer because they don't mean the same thing. Because
They do not mean the same.
Right. So those two off the bat. I don't think and D is wrong too, because transparency is not, not something that is not allowed in a closed source model. There is a level of transparency that I think closed source model makers have a responsibility for. Like you need to know the ins and outs a little bit, not their source code, but I don't think A never, C no, they don't. D I don't think is good either.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm going to go with B as well.
B. Okay.
To say, explainability, it's explaining, and transparency is like providing a view inside the model in an allowable way. Let's see.
An allowable way. Gotcha.
What I like B as well, and we would both be correct with that particular answer.
I like it.
B is correct. Explainability explains model decisions, and transparency shares system details.
Awesome.
Okay, so we made it. Couple guesses, and we did it.
So let me, since this is an exam, and we are working toward an end goal at the end of the month, I'm going to steal this little tip that I used at my previous role, where we had a study group. And we created a Google Sheets, right? And we all would, we started off creating flashcards. Like each Google, page was a term. And then of course in the notes you would put the definition. So you would, so it had grown. It was for the solution architect associate, and everybody in the group contributed to it. When I say that thing is still floating around my old job and I'm gone, that thing took off because so many people had contributed to all of the terms and services that are talked about in the course that folks took. People found it useful. So I think you and I should crowdsource our own little Google Sheet with all the terminology on it. And then, you can just, have a little slideshow and a term comes up and it's like, oh, I know what this is. And you answer it, and you can always check your answer in the notes. So you down with that?
Yeah. And I've got some pretty good notes to contribute. I mean, as I'm reading and I'm writing stuff down to recall. So happy to contribute that to the deck or to the stack or doc or whatever it is. Yeah. And
Sounds
then
good.
We can get Claude or Chat to compile it all for us.
I like it.
Make some good use of AI. Okay, next up, as we wind this thing down, we're going to be talking about chapters 9 and 10. Chapter 9, security, compliance, and governance for AI solutions. And chapter 10, strategies and techniques for successfully taking the AWS Certified AI Practitioner.
Oh, this train coming into the station.
We are
This train is coming into the station, okay?
Yeah.
We're about to pull up.
Yeah, be perfectly timed because we're skipping a week. If you're joining us live on our regular schedule every Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We're not going to be live next week, so catch us on the 18th to talk about security, compliance, governance, and the strategies and techniques that we're going to review for successfully taking the exam, which then gives us another week to review. We'll see if we get together on the 25th, maybe to say, hey, are you ready? Are you really ready? Maybe that's just like all practice questions because we won't have a chapter to go over.
Yes.
And then Saturday, March 28th, you're taking the exam. Monday, March 30th, I'm taking the exam. And then maybe on Wednesday, April 1st, we get together and talk about it.
And it will not be April Fool's, trust.
no fools, no,
no.
practitioners in the building. Yeah, definitely.
So, you have a safe trip. Use your downtime wisely. That those flights will give you the opportunity to do a lot of studying if you so choose, going and or coming. Pick your poison, a little bit of both. But I, my friend, I'm going in. While this off week, I'm going in. I'm gonna start taking my practice exams.
Yes.
Getting real serious about nailing this down. And I want to be ready by the end of the month.
Yeah, no. Well, we have no choice because, like we said, once you sign up, once you schedule that exam, it is real. It's real. So I've got my I don't have my paper copy. I'm rocking off of my Kindle on my phone. I've downloaded my LinkedIn Learning courses for the AI Certified Practitioner exam prep. I'm going to be watching those. I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be taking notes, and I'm going to come back ready and amped to pass this exam. So that's
loving it.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us. We love having you here in the comments live. We love you joining us in the replay, and we appreciate you downloading and listening to us on your podcast player. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you. Yeah, we'll see you next time right here.
See you next time.
All right. Bye.